I always feel so formal in these intros. I need something that's just like, hey, welcome back. Let's just get right into it. Obviously, you know what this video is about. This is my February favorites video. I was gonna wait until spring, which is about a month and some change away, but I just figured there's a lot of good things going on right now, so let's just freaking do it. And if you are wondering, yes, I am wearing a pajama shirt with dogs on it. And I figured since I'm doing a February favorites, I should wear something that is a favorite of mine. When I think of my mother, there are certain things that come to mind. One, the time she saved my life when a convict on the run from the police tried to break into my car and, I don't know, maybe hold me for ransom or hold me hostage while I drove him around the city. Yeah, she saved my ass on that one. The second one is when I caught her the night before Christmas. And I'm gonna mouth this and just write it on the screen in case your kids are listening, but the night before Christmas, I think I was maybe 10 or something, that was when I realized that my whole life was a lie. But I also, when I think of my mother, think of these iconic pajamas that she has worn since the beginning of time, or the beginning of my time. And I took the top home, one of my sisters has the bottom, and this now is like my comfort pajamas when I'm missing my mom. I just wear them, and I'm missing her today. So anyway, yeah, this is a proper way to start a favorites video. I think in all of my favorites videos, I'm gonna start wearing an article of clothing that is my favorite at the moment. So anyway, welcome to my February favorites. It's been a really great time for me. I'm gonna knock on wood, but the pest thing that I've been dealing with for a year is in a place now where I can just breathe, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm proud of myself, but at the same time, I'm still on guard, okay? I'm not letting my guard down. I am being way more preventative. I am going to try and get my hands on some beneficial mites from copper, and we are not experiencing 2022 again. This is going to be a better year. We are gonna focus on the actual growth of my plants and not be so on the defense about pests. So yeah, anyway, all that to say, really good things happening. There's a lot of new growth right now, and just to kind of let you guys know, this isn't really just like a February favorite. It's more so just like plants that I'm really excited about right now, whether it's just like the new leaves or just seeing any new growth. And there's maybe one or two that are like considered my favorites, but this really is just kind of a like, let's celebrate the coming of spring with some new growth. So I think I have nine plants to show you today, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this feature film. We're gonna start it off with a plant that is actually one of my favorites right now. This is my philodendron mexicanum. This one has just been probably one of the most easygoing philodendrons in my collection. I can't remember if I included this in my easygoing philodendrons video, but if I didn't, I should have, because this one just requires nothing. He's a pervert. This one requires almost nothing. It just needs some water and some light, and it just grows really well. It's in this little tiny no drainage vessel. Oh, by the way, all the plants I'm showing you today are in no drainage. But I mean, it's not really something that I should like market as like, oh, these are doing great because of no drainage, because like 90% of my collection is in no drainage. But anyway, yeah, so this new leaf is the one that made me convulse a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. These are the largest ears that I've ever had on this plant before. The one that came before this was this guy, and he's got some pretty big ears, but this is a little much in a great way. And I just am so surprised at how well it's been growing. No pole, no nothing. It's just like, I don't need anybody to support me. And that is the energy that I want to really harness this year. I feel like this plant doesn't get enough love because, I don't know, a lot of the plants that I see like online, people selling, I don't know, it just doesn't do it justice. Like the leaf shape of this is just so Gorgina, and I feel like more people need to own it to like realize how like magical it really is. And if you look at the abaxials, like this is what got me with this plant in the beginning. I had seen a photo of the abaxials of one of these leaves and I just knew I had to have it. I didn't really care what the front of it looked like. I wanted it for its little back sides. And yeah, this plant just never fails to disappoint. I mean, seriously, this thing is like in my shirt. But yeah, I had to start it off with this one because I just feel like for the entire month of January, I was just gravitating toward this plant. I would go up to it every day and just give it a little touch and tell it how much I appreciated it. And I'm just really excited to see how much more this thing matures. The stem is getting pretty thick. She's got a little thickness, which is always a plus. The oldest leaf on this plant is this one. This little guy, which is so cute. So if you have been looking for a sign to bite the bullet and get a mexicanum, they're really not that expensive from what I've seen. They are very rewarding plants to grow. They are super easy. This thing has had spider mites way more times than I care to remember. And really, it just continues to live and grow. And she doesn't really, I don't know, she doesn't really give me a hard time, which is always nice when you have collections as large as ours. It's just nice to have those like, you know, your staple guys that you can just rely on and depend on to be there for you. And to support you through things like a major pest outbreak and, you know, say like, hey, you give those guys some attention, I'm gonna be fine. Number one definitely has to go to this mexicanum. Number two spot, I'm not gonna say this is a favorite, but just growth that I'm excited about right now. I acquired this from Amanda last year, and I think that it was just a one leaf plant. So I think this was the leaf that it came with. It pushed this one out in the plant room. Not too bad, but you can see it's got a little bit of some crisping at the edges from when I let it dry out. This one was pushed out on this living room shelf and it's just in way better condition. Just a quick sort of veer off the subject here. If you guys didn't know, I moved my anthuriums out here and it has just, I don't know why it took me so long. I really don't. None of you guys told me. No one said a word. But it's been just an amazing, amazing experience going from growing my anthuriums in my very hot, humid, no, not humid, dry plant room to being out here where it's much cooler. The ambient humidity is actually slightly higher, I feel. So the anthuriums are loving it, and this one emerged no problem. Very, very little cosmetic damage, but of course, you know, in this house, I don't strive for perfection. I just strive for any growth, and to have growth that looks like this is amazing to me because if you guys have been following along for most of last year, you just know it has been a whirlwind with my anthuriums. I was fighting it so hard. I really thought that if I just gave it enough time, and it probably would have, but maybe a little bit longer than I would have liked to invest, but I was just so determined to get my anthuriums to grow in those conditions. But I just, you know, came to the realization that like, why am I spending so much time trying to fight this when I do have conditions out here that are pretty much perfect for anthuriums. So this guy is just so beautiful, and I used to have one of these before. I sold it, I immediately regretted it, and I think I said it in a video, and that's why Amanda sent it to me in that little box, which was so sweet of her. And yeah, just so happy to have this plant. It's really, really beautiful as a young plant. I love these sort of like thick silvery veins that sort of bleed out into the rest of the plant. But as this plant gets bigger, it's just so magical. Hopefully I'm inserting the right photo because the IDs of like the Silver Blush and Crystal Hope and all of those get really, really blurred. Please excuse Sniffles McGee. He has finally agreed to go to a doctor about his sinus. Here is a photo of what I hope is the right plant, but is what they look like when they're mature, and they get so round and just like bright and striking, and I just hope that I can get to that point someday where this plant just gets really big and beautiful. But even if it doesn't, I just appreciate this plant for what it is, and I think it's a really great contrast to a lot of my anthuriums that are like dark, very subtle venation. So I wanted to include this guy. So happy to see some normal growth finally. I'm gonna try and show you this leaf last, but the next one is this philodendron Dean McDowell. This one is from my best pal, Alice. I actually had a Dean McDowell before. I've talked about this in, I don't remember which video, but I talked about sort of the saga of my philodendron Dean McDowell over the course of 2019 to 2021, I think. I just got to a point where I didn't have one anymore, and Alice had cut her plant and gave me a cutting of it, and I'm just so happy to have another one because this new leaf here has just reminded me why this one was one of my favorite philodendrons of all time when I really got deeper into the aroid hobby. I'm getting cute aggression. What is my hand? I'm getting cute aggression because these leaves are just so freaking pillowy. It looks like a squishmallow. It's so shiny, but like matte at the same time. And it just looks so sultry, like it's glazed. It's like a glazed, like a freshly glazed Krispy Kreme donut, and you know what I'm talking about. I love how this really, really bright white venation sort of goes all the way to the edge of the leaf margin, which gives it that really pillowy look, even though it's not actually super pillowy. The leaf is not thick. This is not a thick leafed plant. It's actually quite thin, but the way that the venation, you know, contrasts with the rest of the leaf, it just gives it that look like it's just a freaking fat delicious pillow. I'm hoping that this year I will have some better luck growing the Dean McDowell because this is definitely one of the plants that I've really missed having in my collection. I am going to attempt to grow it outside of a greenhouse because this one is growing inside of my tent right now just because I've been sort of spoiling it. And gosh, sorry, saying that brought back memories of this one trolley comment that I got. It was my philodendrons that I'm growing outside of a greenhouse. It was like,
oh, if you can't even grow, like philodendrons are the easiest plants to grow. Like I grow them everywhere outside of greenhouses. If you need a greenhouse for your philodendrons, you need a different hobby.
Congratulations, I'm so happy for you, but that's not the case for me, okay? One day I will take this out of the tent. I think I'm gonna give it one more leaf, and then we're gonna get her kicked out, repotted, because she's just living in a little plastic cup right now. She's not crawling yet, although I can see that the stem is starting to like sort of go to an angle. So I think maybe after 1 or 2 leaves, she's gonna start growing horizontal. Anyway, yeah, so freaking happy to have this plant again. And it kind of looks like, if I can keep up the growth of it and just keep it happy, that I should have a Dean McDowell around the same size that I had before in no time. Maybe by spring, I'll have a nice big pillowy one. Just a matter of if I can keep it happy is another question, because I was really good at growing this plant. At one point, it was like super easy, very low maintenance, didn't really need much. And then one day it became like one of my most high maintenance philodendrons out of nowhere. So, we're just gonna see, but I'll definitely take you guys along. If you guys have been here since last year, you know that I had this whole debacle with my Hoyas. I tried a pest killing method for my Hoyas to get rid of this massive mealybug outbreak that I had, and it worked. I have 0 mealybugs. I have not seen a mealybug in months. It's amazing, but I did have to sacrifice more than half of my collection. And there was a point where my Hoya cabinet was empty. It looked so sad. And I don't know what happened. I'm blaming my friends because I have the greatest friends in the world, but my Hoya cabinet is bursting. It cannot fit anymore. I've had to take some of my Hoyas out. So I do plan on doing another Hoya video in the future, maybe when more leaves start growing, because there's a lot of new growth, but I want to wait till they're actually like fully hardened and stuff. But they're doing amazing. And one of them that I really am loving right now is my Hoya undulata. I think it's a Hoya undulata. I got this one from my friend Lauren at North Shore Tropicals. It had way more leaves than this. She gave me, I think it was like a 5-leaf cutting. These are some of the original ones. We were not sure if this plant was dead or alive, but she started to notice some new root growth, so she finally let me take it home. It was not doing well for a long time. This is not one of the ones that got the Hoya treatment. I don't think it did. Did it? No, I don't think it did. But this one was spared in that whole little stint I had with the hot water. But besides that, like, it started getting these like sort of yellowy spots that look very fungal. Some people were telling me flat mites. I would not doubt it. I do have a microscope now, thanks to Amanda, and I will be playing with that really soon. Since then, it has kind of exploded with growth. So this is a new leaf here, which is so dark and like crunchy and ancient and disgusting, and I love it. You could literally take an eye out with the edge of this Hoya. I'm not kidding. It's so sharp. This thing poked me in the face once and it actually cut my forehead. That's amazing. We love a violent Hoya. It grew this long runner guy, grew this leaf here, which is equally as disgusting. These edges, it literally looks like a teeny tiny, why can't I talk today? It looks like a teeny tiny caterpillar just went along the edges here and just took little nibbles all along the edges, and it's not showing on camera the way I want it to. But do you see like how crunchy and jagged it looks? This is like, if Jagged Edge was a Hoya, it would be this guy. But like, I love these little like splotches of splotch. It's just a beautiful freaking plant. So this new leaf is coming out and it looks like it's gonna be a big one. We have a new runner here that's pushed out, and you can see 2 new leaves are on the way here. Another leaf is on the way here, and I think that's it, I think. But I'm just like amazed that this thing is alive, because I'm not joking. Like, when I tell you, I really thought that I was just housing the largest dead Hoya for the longest time. Yeah, I just would have put money that there was no life left in this thing. But just to see new growth on it and just how like prehistoric and nasty it looks, I'm like over the moon. I just cannot get over how much I love this plant. I think that this is sort of the epitome of an ancient dumpster Hoya, and I'm just here for it. I've actually heard some people say that they have trouble caring for this plant, and I'm really not gonna sit here and give anybody Hoya advice, like, ever, because I'm not the one. But all I'm gonna say is that it likes pond, okay, because it's in pond. It is in no drainage. This is the party pond from the Variegated Plant Shop. It is in a cabinet. Right now it's in my Redsta. There's 20 watts of light in there from my Barina lights, and it's not super close to the light, but these ones are definitely a lot closer. So I'll say, if you're struggling, maybe try no drainage, maybe try pond, and like an enclosed environment that gets a good amount of like warmth. Maybe not so much humidity, but warmth is really important, it seems, for this plant. Hopefully in the next like few months. Oh, there's another leaf. Cute. Yeah, hopefully in the next few months I can do another update on this once all these new teeny tiny arms start to grow. But the one unfortunate thing with this plant is that once these new leaves grow, it's not gonna fit in the cabinet anymore. So we're gonna have to figure out a plan. Next plant up is a philodendron. This one is my esmeraldense AF. Couldn't tell you when I acquired it, but it's been kind of a while. This one was a fresh import when I got it, but it was really not super hard to acclimatize. The only issue that I had with this was getting it to root. It just didn't want to root for me. But the second I started using TPS billions, I'm telling you, within, I think it was like 2 weeks after I applied the TPS billions myco, it just freaking took off. Like, it's basically just not stopped with the roots. It's a very, very rooty plant, and oh God, I'm gonna slap myself with these leaves, these gigantic leaves. I don't know if you can see it with the glare, but this pole is super duper rooty too. But otherwise, it's just been kind of growing like a dream. It's giving sort of like a pendant look. I don't know if that's normal, but someone else did tell me that their esmeraldense AF kind of hangs like this too. I didn't so much have this issue when the leaves were smaller, but definitely as it's gained some size, they're just sort of like hanging. But the new leaves have been like pretty gigantic. I kind of expected a stunt in growth when I first got it because it was a new import, but it really hasn't skipped a beat. So this is the newest one that's come out on it, and she's a beauty. I'm just like really, I'm obsessed with these leaves. This could be my favorite long leaf philodendron right now. Of course, the Billy will always be forever in my heart. But in terms of like a favorite that I'm just like obsessed with right now, it's this one. I'm always really excited when I see new growth on it, which is pretty often. It's a really fast grower. We've had sort of weird stints with this plant though. So I think this was the first leaf to come out in my care, and if you look at the leaves that came before it, they're like really narrow and just like beautiful, and that's what sold me on this plant. And then this leaf came out and I was like, okay, someone's been at the gym too many times this month. And then came like this little scrawny dude, which I don't know what the hell happened here. And then it pushed out this leaf, which I was like, okay, it's got mosaic, it's got some kind of virus. What the hell is that? It's got this weird variegation, really, really like mangled, warped leaves. It was really giving, it was giving virus. But it kind of snapped out of it and pushed out this one, which completely normal, and again, another normal leaf. So I don't really know what that's all about, but I'm just glad she's thriving. I just kind of wish she stood a little taller, like her petioles were a little bit more, had a little pep in its step. But at the same time, when it has a growth pattern like this, you can enjoy the leaves a little bit more. So right now I just have this on, okay, my arm is literally on fire. Right now I have this growing on this shelf behind me, on the top shelf. And even though it's on the very top, I can still enjoy it because the leaves, they hang down. I do think that I'm gonna have to get it off of this pole situation pretty soon and get it on a non-lazy pole, because I think that she's grown a little bit too much to be on one of these sort of starter poles, but we love to see this kind of growth. She also did have spider mites at one point, didn't really skip a beat, didn't really show any like visible damage or anything. She's just been really sort of resilient through it all, so I'm grateful for that. Oh, and before I put her away, if anyone is wondering about the potting situation that we have going on here, I'm gonna tilt it a little bit so that you guys aren't catching the glare. But obviously no drainage pot. I've got a layer of leca down at the bottom, and then this part here is tree fern fiber with pon mixed into it, and then obviously the top is sphagnum moss. And I have also inoculated the pole. Don't really know if that makes a difference, but yeah, she's loving it. Featuring a non-aeroid, my favorite plant in my entire collection, the Decarya madagariensis. I haven't shown this plant too much on my channel after I acquired it, but I love it as much as the day I acquired it. And I knew that I was gonna love this plant a lot, but I don't think I was prepared for how excited I would get at the growth, mostly because when I look at this plant, it kind of seems like a plant that doesn't grow that much, but that has not been the case. These are 2 plants in 1 pot. I am sort of twiddling with the idea of separating out one of the plants and giving it to my mom because I think she might like this plant and it would look really cute in her house. But I'm also having some attachment issues because it's just growing so cute. But anyway, all of this down here is new growth. Hopefully the camera can pick it up because it's quite little. But these little tiny leaves, they make me nauseous. They make me ill because I love them so much. I just can't get over how much I love it. It's kind of hard to see, but there's like new growth popping out on this little guy here, also here, and it's just growing everywhere. Like all of this down here is brand new. It's way more alive than it looks, I guess. I was just surprised at the speed in which it grows and sort of how easy it's been to care for it. There were a few people that commented that they had killed a few of them and it just didn't like, I don't know, it just didn't like being in their house. I'm not sure if it's because my friends bought me a specimen from a shop here in Canada that is, they just take really good care of their plants and they send out really good specimens. I really don't know what it is, but I haven't struggled with this plant at all. It's been so easy. And this one also did have spider mites, surprisingly. Like, what are they trying to get at here? It's all sticks, but you know, they're ruthless. So let me show you the potting situation I have. It's in a very sandy mix. Sandy with pond and sand and pond and more sand. It's a very sort of gritty mix. I mixed the substrate that it came in with more sand and some pond, and I mean, it seems to really like it. I can see some new roots down here. There were some roots growing out of the bottom which have dried out, which is why I added this little cover pot in here so that any excess water would just sit at the bottom and keep it hydrated. I'm just not good at growing plants with drainage. I feel like I kill way more plants with drainage holes than not. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it in terms of the growing conditions because it's just growing on my shelf here. It's right underneath one of these 24-watt Monios lights. So I think it does like light, doesn't need like high humidity. It's living sort of in this dry, barren wasteland that is my home. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about it. But I did say in a video, I think I said it in my wish list video from 2021, that if I ever acquired this plant, I would build a shrine for it. And trust me, I'm working on it. This back area here is a work in progress, and I'm twiddling with the idea of a brand new shelf and like I'm planning out this whole thing back here, and I'm really centering a lot of my decision on this plant because I really do want to build a shrine around it, and I was not joking. The last anthurium on this list is my anthurium esmeralda, anthurium esmeralda, Anthurium esmeralda. I got this one from Lauren's shop, North Shore Tropicals. This was my birthday gift to myself. I could not resist the price, and this was one of the anthuriums that I was pining for it for so long, and I am very glad that I got it because it has been worth every penny. All of these leaves were grown, I did not grow it, but they were in the plant room for a very long time. You can see and hear how much it hated it in there. So one of the reasons why I really wanted to get this plant was because I heard that it was just a lot easier than a Baroquianum, which I can say to this point, yes, I do feel like it is easier than the queen. I tried growing my queen in non-greenhouse conditions and it did not like it. So for as long as this one has just been sort of out in very rough terrain, I would have expected these leaves to be ashes by now, but she's still sort of like held on to most of her integrity. But more importantly, this new leaf here grew out on my shelf, and there are some little cosmetic damages here and there, but overall I would say that this is a success. It's not as large as the other leaves, but it's still a very decent sized leaf. I have it sitting on the top shelf as well, and I don't know, I just feel like my anthuriums have really enjoyed at least the lower temperatures. They just hated the plant room. Everything was drying out so fast, everything was becoming crispy, new leaves weren't coming out. So for this one to be on the top shelf where it's a lot warmer up there, and for me to not have to spray it, not have to help it out of the sheath, it just kind of emerged one day, and I didn't even notice it until it was like half this size. I had no clue that there was a new leaf. So it was a really pleasant surprise, and I just love, I don't know, I think I actually like this more than the queen. I can't put my finger on why, but I just do. I think it's because I've had such a whirlwind romance with the queen, and this one has just been a way more enjoyable experience. So hopefully I can keep this one going. She is, yeah, she's fully hardened off now. I thought she was gonna get a little bit bigger, but I'm just, you know, growth is growth. I'm not looking to grow like super large monsters, although, I mean, it would be nice, but I'm just happy to see anything that's not dying. Second to last one, if you guys watched my last week of plant to-dos, you would have already seen this plant, so I'm sorry that you're seeing double, but this is my Uliarum Don Burnsi, and also got this one from my friend Lauren, and I will say that this one is definitely a favorite. This is not like a growth I'm excited about. Well, obviously I am, but this has to be probably one of my favorite plants in my collection right now. When this new leaf came out, I wasn't sleeping well. I just wanted to spend time with it. I wanted to take pictures of it all the time, and I just wanted to look at it. It's just a plant that, like, I don't know, I haven't really been this excited about a new plant in a long time, and I don't know what it is about this plant that just makes me swoon. I really think it's the fact that it's very Donnie Darko-ish. It's just very like kind of sinister in like a cute way, and these petioles are just freaking so cool. Look at it. Where does she get the audacity? I don't know, but look at her. She's so cute. Just love the ears. I do see some new growth coming, which is very exciting. I did talk a little bit about this one and how to propagate it and the growing conditions in my week of plant to do. Well, I didn't talk about it, but I threw up a little blurb if you're curious on how to grow it. Right now, I just have this one in my tent because it's still like, it's one of my newer acquisitions. I am trying to sort of like build it up, strengthen it before she comes out, because my tent really is just for acclimatizing new plants and for rehabs and stuff like that. So this is a plant that I definitely want to be able to enjoy. So hopefully maybe in the next few months she can move out into my open exo and still give me some good growth. I guess what I'm worried about in growing in lower humidity is having things like this happen, where you have like sort of the crisping edges, but at the same time, these two leaves were grown in moss, and I have since moved it to pon, and I'm hoping that it likes it in here. I can see some new root growth. I only repotted this 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. It hasn't been that long. So we're still kind of monitoring her very closely just to make sure that nothing goes awry. But overall, she seems okay. She hasn't like gotten any droopier. She, you know, she's held on strong. This new growth, I almost said growth point. This new growth point hasn't melted or anything, but I'm still definitely trying to like familiarize myself with this type of plant. It's the first that I've ever owned, and I have seen some other Uliarums that are just so freaking cute. I think I put it on my Instagram. highlight called Wish List, and I would love to have more, but I'm trying to not dive into it too fast. I want to make sure that I can completely understand this guy first before I like go off the deep end. But so far so good. Has not been a difficult plant, especially for being in very dry, neglected moss for a long time. So I'll let you guys know how he transitions to pon. And for my last trick, I present to you my philodendron SP Colombia that I show way too much on this channel. But here she is. She is my favorite one out of all of the philodendron SP Colombias that I have right now. I like it because of how tight this venation is. It's just, I don't know, I like it way more than the other kinds that have been floating around. And yeah, she's growing like a dream. All of these have grown in regular ambient conditions. I don't remember ever having this one in a greenhouse, so she's been totally fine. But this new leaf is just the cutest little angel. She's definitely sizing up. This leaf is slightly larger than all the ones that have grown in my care, and she is just so cute. Wait, it's kind of hard to show you guys the shape of this leaf. Okay, here we go. Oh my Lanta, look at her. I just can't get over this venation. It's just so dark, and again, it goes all the way to the edge of the leaf margin. It kind of reminds me of that dark and round Plowmanii with no variegation that I have been after for so long. I cannot find one, but it kind of sort of resembles that leaf a bit in terms of how the venation looks. This is just not as round, but I just love it so much. And yeah, she's just been really, really easy. I feel like she's been a lot easier than all of the other philodendron SP Columbias or silvers that I have. I mean, I would say in general that plant has just been kind of easygoing in terms of other philodendrons that I own. But like, you know, I've had some issues with like leaves crisping on my other ones, or like it getting really bleached really easily. But this one has seen, or this one has grown under pretty harsh grow lights, at least for, I don't know, a few days of its life, and it's never bleached or anything. It's, I don't know, it just has a little bit different mannerisms than the other one. I have another philodendron SP Colombia that I grew under a grow light here, and as soon as the new leaf emerged under that grow light, it just turned yellow. But I think that it was maybe this leaf here. Wait, I think it was this leaf here that grew under a grow light. And if this were any of my other SP Silvers or SP Columbias, I don't know which one it is, this would have been like bright yellow. Like I would have had that like yellow halo around the edges, but this one has kind of just stayed, I don't know, stayed nice and green. But I just love looking at this plant from a distance. This one's growing in my plant room right now. I didn't even think that it was gonna be this nice, honestly. When it was emerging from the caterpillar, it looked kind of small and, I don't know, anticlimactic. But then as soon as she unfurled, I was like, hello, okay, got it, noted. So yeah, I wanted to end it with this one because I would say that this is not only something that I'm very excited about right now, but just one of my favorites for a long time. That wraps it up. That's all of them. I do have a lot more growth happening in the house right now, but I didn't want to just like show you all my eggs. Is that the term? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I think I'm using that wrong. I'm not going to be doing these favorites videos very often. I think the next one that I'll do is maybe at the end of spring, just so that I have like some substantial growth to show you. And yeah, I just feel like if I do it every month, it just gets a little bit played out and you guys are like, yeah, I saw that plant already. Thank you guys for watching another video. I will be doing a tour of this area here somewhat soon. I was gonna wait until I get the new setup, but I don't think that's gonna happen for a while because I was shopping for shelves and they're very expensive. They are very expensive. So yeah, that might not happen for a while, but I do kind of want to document how these anthuriums look right now since it's been out here for less than a month, just so we can see how much they progress over the next few months. Besides that, I do still need some more video ideas. I really am not planned very far, so if there's anything you want to see, please let me know. I think that's it. So thank you guys for watching another video. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it helps me a lot on YouTube, and I will see you in the next one.